In everyday conversation, the word theory often describes a hunch or a guess, an opinion waiting to be proven. For scientists, the term describes a well-respected, heavily researched framework that provides an explanation for observable facts. In 1831, Charles Darwin set out on a historic 5-year global voyage as a young, deeply passionate naturalist. His mission aboard the HMS Beagle was an intense data-gathering expedition, surveying landscapes and collecting specimens across multiple continents. The sheer volume of raw data he brought back to England provided the evidence required to address biology's greatest mystery. By the 1830s, geologists had established that the Earth undergoes constant, gradual physical changes over vast expanses of time. Darwin observed a biological anomaly. Wildlife was highly specific to its geographical distribution. Isolated animals, like the tortoises of the Galapagos, displayed unique, specialized variations. He also collected ancient fossils and realized they were directly connected to the living species roaming those exact same regions. This posed a central problem. If the Earth changes physically over time, there must be a physical mechanism driving the biological change in the animals. Darwin sought to identify the invisible biological process explaining how life adapts alongside a shifting planet. After returning to England in 1838, Darwin formulated a hypothesis to answer that question: natural selection. This process relies on genetic variation. Within any population, a small number of individuals randomly develop a distinct, advantageous physical trait. The struggle for existence acts as a filter. An environmental pressure, like a lack of food or a new predator, eliminates standard individuals, while those with the alteration survive. Those surviving traits are naturally selected and passed on to the next generation, shifting the overall baseline traits of the entire population. Over millions of years, this cycle creates a massive, branching phylogenetic tree, connecting all living and extinct species back to earlier parent species. This mechanism demonstrated that the diversity of life is the result of descent with modification. Darwin spent the next 2 decades gathering physical evidence to ensure his case was undeniable. He used his family residence as a 40-year outdoor laboratory, conducting physical experiments in his own garden. He performed research across disciplines, dissecting barnacle taxonomy and analyzing coral reef structures to test his assumptions. In 1858, Darwin received an essay from another naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace, who had described the exact same idea. This prompted an immediate joint presentation of both their theories to the Linnean Society of London. The following year, Darwin released On the Origin of Species, presenting his comprehensive evidence to the world. The theory was the result of decades of exhaustive testing, eventually brought to light by the requirements of the scientific method. By the 1870s, the scientific community and the educated public broadly accepted the descent of species as the fact of evolution. However, skepticism still surrounded natural selection, with many scientists favoring competing explanations for how evolution occurred. Darwin's work had a specific gap. He lacked the biological blueprint explaining how traits were inherited across generations. That blueprint arrived with the 20th century rediscovery of Gregor Mendel's research into the inheritance of trait variations. This modern evolutionary synthesis completely validated Darwin's earlier work, finally mapping the precise microscopic mechanisms of gene frequency and mutation. Darwin later explored human evolution and published early works on the science of psychology. Honored as one of the most influential figures in history, Darwin was buried in Westminster Abbey. His work has held up against a century of testing by scientific disciplines that did not even exist during his lifetime. Today, natural selection stands as the unifying theory of the life sciences, explaining the unity and diversity of all living things.